Good. Whoa. Okay. Tom's moving. Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are, evening if you're somewhere where it's nighttime. My name is Jamie Sweet, and welcome to Lakers Fast Break Spotlight on the Lakerholics weekend. I haven't done this in a while, so I might be a little rusty with my controlling and my what have you and my posting comments and stuff. But I'm going to do my best. We concluded the NBA draft, both rounds yesterday, and there was a lot of movement. We're going to talk about the draft. I don't think we did a season-ending show, did we? A show where we recapped the end of the season. So I'd like to end the show with how normally I would say let's begin with that, but let's end the show with that. Let's end the show with how we felt about last season, playoffs, regular season, how we started versus how we finished, all that stuff.
I don't know. Doesn't it make more sense to do that first and then talk about what?
Tom, have I ever done anything that makes sense?
No, but. Well, actually,
let's start with the fresh topic. The topic everybody's more interested in, which is what I thought was a really excellent, all things considered, for all the potentials that could have happened over the last 2 days. I think that the Lakers did a great job with the NBA draft this year. It could have gone. I don't know who was picked at 55. But it
wasn't Adu Theoro, that's for sure.
And let's all say it right together: Adu Theoro. And all I can ever think about when I see his name is that old commercial for plumbing, AD-Do. Those of you who are old may know that. Those of you who are young are going to look at me like, what? And that's fine. I don't care. Anyway, I thought the Lakers did a great job, both in how they moved up in the draft without giving up. But they had a second-round pick swap, and they threw away some money. That's great.
That's perfect.
It's the best way the Lakers can improve their team in these modern times with the fact that we don't have a draft pick in next year's draft, I believe.
No, we have a first rounder next year.
We have a first rounder we can't trade until draft day.
Right.
So there's no movement really for next season's draft. We have some expiring contracts. We're always talking about picks 7 years out now, 8 years out, I think, if you're under the cap. Something like that, or maybe it's 7 and 6 if you're not under the cap. I can't remember. There's a rule with that if you're under the second apron, you get an extra year on to how far out you can trade a first rounder. And I'm, to be honest, still iffy on most of the CBA. What's up? Let's put this up. I did not know this. I'm assuming that this is to a Exhibit 10 or training camp summer league kind of
training camp deal.
Whatever. That's not news. I mean, that's great. Wonderful for Angel Reese. Angel Reese's brother. Angel Reese is a fantastic WNBA player. So if her brother's got half the skill set that he does, this is a great deal for the Lakers. But I don't think he does, since he's not just undrafted, but also not getting a two-way.
They've already shown some pictures of him blowing layups.
Layups?
Pretty hilarious.
Well, that's what the G League's for.
Like sister, like brother.
And good luck, Tom. Hey, what's up, Kurt? How you doing? Sorry we've been gone for so long, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Nice to see people popping by. Let me put my phone on silent so that I'm no longer bothered for the next hour or so. So anyway, your guys' thoughts on the draft. Tom, we'll start with you. You were on first, and we already kind of hashed that.
Listen, I think that the one thing that we can hopefully take from the draft is that Rob Pelinka knows he's accountable now. He knows that he's going to have a boss that is going to look at what he does and make a judgment on his job. And I thought he did a terrific job. I mean, we didn't give up anything but money. We swapped 55 in money for 45. We swapped 45 in money for 36. And we got a guy who I think is maybe one of the best 2 or 3 athletes in the entire draft. He's not a great three-point shooter, but his shot looks fixable. And he definitely looks like the kind of prototype player that we saw in the finals make big impact. A guy who can attack and the thing about him is he's so different from Vanderbilt, who basically just wilts in the offensive end and basically just cannot get himself to use his athleticism to try to score. I'm so tired of him getting passes underneath the basket, and instead of trying to dunk it and getting it blocked, he'll throw it out immediately. The Arrow is a totally different player because this guy wants to dunk the ball on everybody. I love his physicality. I love his size at close to 6'8". And I give him an A+ for this. This is better than anything I thought we were going to be able to do. going into this with just the 55th pick and not even giving any of our minimal draft capital to end up with a 36th pick and get a guy like this, A+.
A plus. That's a
and it gives me a lot more confidence, frankly, that we might be able to still pull through this summer with the center that we want. Rob did a great job on this. It's interesting. I wish we would find out whether they really were going after Kalkbrenner or not. It's interesting.
Well, that'll never out. That's the kind of stuff that's never coming out.
We'll get stories on both sides, which we already have, but
and to be honest, they may well have been, because I think, to be absolutely fair on paper, and this again, let's just remember, people, everyone. There are no guarantees with your NBA draft. Number 36 could flame out worse than number 55. Like this is all potential. Yeah, it's hope and stardust and unicorn sprinkles, and that's all it is.
Yeah, where was Joker picked? The best player in the goddamn NBA was.
Yeah, I think he was like 7th or 8th. I think he was like 7th or 8th in his draft. I don't remember, but exactly.
He was a second rounder in the 30s.
Right.
I think it was 32 or 33.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And
his response to that was, always bet on the fat boy.
That's right. You know what? If nothing proves my point better than that, I don't know what to tell you, Planet Earth. I just don't know.
Zubac was a second rounder also.
That boy's got that other guys don't have, man.
Anyway,
was a second rounder as well. So,
Michael, your thoughts on the Lakers draft?
I think they did an excellent job. I mean, just whether the guy is what he makes a big impact or not, just the maneuvering to get him was a great job by Rob, to get into the position. He looks like he was in a lot of mocks in the first round. The Lakers had him as a first rounder.
Yeah.
And what kills these guys when being a senior.
Oh, he's old. He's 21 or something like that.
Yeah. Being a senior and not having a really developed 3-point shot is the only thing that kept him down, because the athleticism.
But he's been growing. He's got giant hands, man, and he's been growing.
Yeah, what I like about him is, like Tom brought up Vando. Vando couldn't finish through contact. This guy seeks it.
Yeah, he draws. He's great at getting.
So I can see this guy getting a rotation role off the bat. I really could.
He'll be the backup small forward from the go.
Yeah, so I really see him getting. I really see him getting a rotation role. He might be the 8th or 9th guy, but I see him I see him at least in the top 10.
I think.
I mean, they might have been looking at that center. I mean, Brad Turner was the guy that tweeted that about the Creighton, and he's very, very, very reliable as a source.
Yeah, I agree.
So they might have been looking at the center, but you don't go into the second, saying it's this guy or nobody at all, So
exactly.
Kalkbrenner, though, was an elite defensive center, whereas Renaud is an elite offensive center.
Yeah,
and they passed on the offensive center because they really wanted defense.
Well, and let's be honest, like
Kalkbrenner could have been in there.
No, centers take the most time to develop, unless you come out like Shaq, or there's a handful of centers that come into the NBA ready to play.
It's not like Edie.
It's a very short list. You are rarely a center.
Even the Joker didn't come in and burn up the league right away.
Jokic took 2-3 years to put it all together, decide to lose weight, decide to take conditioning seriously. All of those things matter.
Yeah,
so I think
anybody drafted as a center for us probably is going to be the third option.
Yeah, exactly. At best,
we would have had a better
whole
job.
season in the G League.
We would have had a better chance of competing for a ring with Capella than we would have any of the draft picks.
Yeah,
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And I think
because they're going to take time.
But I don't think we would have been able to do anything with Capella.
I'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that. Let's just hold our horses on the whole cavalcade and ideas. Let's keep it.
Finish my thoughts.
Please.
I think that, like I said, I think he's going to be a rotation guy, and I have high hopes for this guy. I really do. Just by You just watch the guy is. They say he might have been the most athletic guy in the draft. The guy has crazy athleticism.
He's top.
I seen him block a shot, and literally he was shoulder length to the rim on the shot block. Yeah. That's at his height. I mean, he's not a 7-footer, you know.
He's got a 7-foot wingspan.
You know, I will say this. I have long been somebody who frowns or doesn't look on as positively the whole wingspan trait of athletes. And that's mainly due to how terribly THT worked out and how the only thing anybody ever could say positive about him was that he had long arms. So much so that it started to piss me off. I'm still pissed off about it because we gave up on the far better player.
Long arms.
We gave up on the win now player. We gave up on the best player of the two, and Alex Caruso, for a guy who's going to be playing in a Quickie Mart parking lot in a year or two. That's what the Lakers did in that session, and it still pisses me off. My thing with this guy is that THT had no athleticism. He couldn't jump 3 feet, you know, if you put springs on his shoes. So, you know, this guy has great hops. This guy has great length. This guy has great defensive instincts, which you cannot teach, really. Those are things that you're kind of like you build up yourself, or you either choose to participate actively in defense or you don't. And, you know, if you have some skills on that level and you choose to participate, you can be an impact player on defense. I like the idea.
He's a lob threat. He's a lob threat. So Luka's going to like that. I like the idea of pairing him with Vando as swapping their roles with Thero as a small ball 4 and Vando as a 2. And having him play. Vando's a far better perimeter defensive player than maybe anybody else on the Lakers at this moment in time. Whether, you know, he can contribute anything on offense is almost secondary. He's the best point of attack defender we have right now. And he's the best at guarding guys on the perimeter. He can switch everything but the 5. Thero
he would do better playing against 2s than 4s.
I believe that's exactly what I just said.
Cannot score against
Tom, that's what I'm trying to say, but you're interrupting me. I'm saying that exact thing, but you're just yelling over me. So, yes, I agree with you. He would be better on the perimeter, playing against 2s and 1s, sometimes 3s. And he's a better spot-up shooter, or could be. He's shown he has that potential. I don't think he was ever right last season. I think having surgery on both your feet is going to really set a man back in terms of your conditioning.
He's had 2 summers where he wasn't able to work on his game in a row.
He wasn't able to work on anything. He was off of his feet for basically an entire year. So I give Vando a little bit of a pass last season. And I think he came into a situation where he was expecting to come into the role that Darvin Ham created for him. That role doesn't exist on this team. You've got to redo it. You've got to pick yourself up. You're not promised anything, and you got to put in the work. So if he can hit that corner 3 and play great on-ball defense on the perimeter, I think there's a role for Vando on this team. If he can't do that, then I don't think there's much of a role.
Trade him.
We've
seen him. You're trying to trade Reeves. Anything that's not nailed down, you're trying to trade. Oh, let's trade this computer. Trade it.
I don't want to trade LeBron or Luka.
Vando doesn't have trade.
He has no trade value right now. Like
you're not going to get anything for him.
No, I'm not even going to entertain this. I'm not entertaining this. I'm not going to. There's no value for Vando. He's not going to get traded this season. The best you can hope for, Tom, is that he gets traded at the deadline. That's it.
No, he's going to get traded.
He'll
be a throw-in. He'll be a throw-in.
Feel free to dream.
We have no draft capital to add to somebody to take him.
You and DJ can craft all your Vando, Rui, Kleber for Giannis trades that you want or whatever. It's not happening. Nobody wants Kleber.
We'll wait and see.
Nobody wants Vando. Nobody wants
about Rui last year, Tom. We guaranteed that Rui would be traded last year.
Yep, and I know.
Well, it should have been, but that's because Rob didn't do anything.
I disagree with all that. Anyway, so we all agree. I don't give the Lakers an A. I give them a B+. Tom just traded Jamie Sweet for Stu Lance.
No, I want to get younger. Stu is a little old. He was a little old,
oh man, he's a little old.
It helped the racial balance of the podcast. I think that would be good.
All right. Listen, we're not in Congress today debating the future of America. We're talking basketball here, people. All right. So listen, this is interesting. Vando has had foot issues since high school. Listen, I'm a big supporter of Jared Vanderbilt. I'm not ignorant of his flaws. The guy doesn't finish around the rim. He has a hard time shooting the 3. At least he did last season. He showed it 2 years ago before he got his foot hurt. it looked like he was turning a corner. It looked like he was going to shoot 35, 38% on open corner threes. And I don't know what else you need from him.
Small quantity, small sample size.
He's playing 16 minutes off the bench. That's all you want him to do. You want him to hit the open shots that come his way.
We're playing 4-on-5 every time.
You also have to remember he's the best rebounder on the team.
He's the best rebounder on the team. He's the best
rebounder on the team. That's the reason why we're a poor rebounding team.
Well, five boards in 18 minutes, Tom, is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue this point.
Come on, man.
He's going to be on the roster, barring a ridiculously.
The only reason he's on the roster would be we couldn't trade him.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That is literally exactly the words.
So I'm saying we will trade him because we need to get rid of him, and we'll have to pay something to do it. We'll have to give him.
We don't have anything to
pay.
We
don't have anything to pay people with.
We have one draft pick.
There's always trades that are a little off balance, and you say, okay, listen, this is fine.
Tom, your trades aren't a little off balance.
You got to eat Vando's contract.
This is,
and they'll come back with, okay, if we got to eat Vando's contract, then you got to eat so-and-so.
This is the scale of your off balance, Tom. This isn't a little off balance. This is massively tilted in the favor of the Lakers.
No, it's only a small amount of money. It's only $10 million. You made a $60 million deal, and you can slip $10 million in there.
Oh, says the guy who's saying, yeah, spend this money.
You know that Pelinka is going to be trying to dump Vando's contract on every trade we make. And if there's a trade where we have a slight advantage, then we're going to offer Vando as a balance.
All right, there's the caveat. We don't have a slight advantage in literally any trade scenario. All right, moving on from this.
You say that all the time, and it doesn't matter.
Do you know why?
What you have to offer is what other teams offer.
We've traded all of our first-round picks we can trade in this decade.
Yeah, we have 4 of them.
The rest of this decade. Come on, man.
We have 5 first-round picks that we can trade.
The next generation can take our first-round draft pick. You guys like that? The next generation?
It doesn't make any sense to talk trades with you, Jamie.
No, because I'm logical. And I'm not Nico Harrison. I don't do it in the vacuum, and I don't do it drinking the dumb sauce.
Well, you don't do it, period.
That's not true.
You're non-trader.
I predicted the year we would trade Russ, the year his contract expired.
Well, you predicted that for 3 years, too.
I said for 3 years we wouldn't trade Russ. I said it would be great if we could trade Russ, but it won't happen. That's different. That's acknowledging
you want to run it back. You want to run it back. You want to run it back even when we suck. That's the problem.
Also not true, but go ahead and say whatever you want. Your microphone. I can't. I mean, I can mute you, I guess, but that seems rude. Anyway, moving on. Listen, we'll see. But we'll get into trades. I don't see a lot of trades happening. I think we'll trade Kleber. Maybe Vincent because he has some value on the right team, but I don't see there being a lot of movement, and I don't see us trading Hachimura. I'll be surprised if we trade Hachimura, given his importance to the team. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to Lucas.
You don't have anybody. You don't have any weapons. Then that's why you say there's no trades because you think everybody is untradeable because they don't have any value. Or
no, I don't. I disagree. I think Rui has tremendous value to the Lakers. I think he's probably our 4th best player.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, he's probably our 4th best player.
Like
be our 7th or 8th best player if we were a championship caliber roster. That's the problem.
No, I think
we got 3 stars. Our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Our 3rd, 4th, and 5th players.
Don't you think Rui Hachimura? Do you think Rui Hachimura has as much impact as Lou Dort?
No,
I do.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
different.
I think Dort's a better defender and Hachimura is a better scorer, but they both can guard 1 through 4 pretty easily. You can slot them onto small enough 5s.
You won't find anybody in the league who would take Rui Hachimura over Lou Dort. Period. You won't find a single general manager who would do a stupid move like that.
Well, there's only one we have to deal with, and I don't think he will because he just won a championship with that guy, and he doesn't have to make a decision on Lou Dort till the trading deadline, and so he won't.
Yeah, we'll see. If Rui is anywhere near as covetable as you claim, he'll be traded.
I don't know that he's covetable. I think he's the 4th best player on this team, and that if you trade him, you're going to have a hard time replacing that value. You're really taking a lot of your thoughts and putting them into my head.
For a two-way player, you immediately improve the team.
Which two-way player are you trading Hachimura from without trading somebody else?
I could name a half a dozen of them.
Okay, name 2.
Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis is a player that He's not as good as Rui defensively. No,
Yeah,
I traded for Nickel Alexander Walker. I trade him for. There's
Walker's a free agent. You can't trade for him. Walker's a free agent. You can't trade for him.
Yeah, I don't know. You could sign and trade for him. I think that might be. Yeah, you could trade for Lou Dort. He's making $17 million this year. So you could trade him straight up. I would do that.
There are a lot of guys that you could trade for straight up for him.
I mean, nothing.
He'll be packaged probably for a center. Because
I think it'll be a
$2 million good player on an expiring contract. Right.
I think it won't be this summer. I think it'll be at the trading deadline. I think it'll be closer to the. I think all the Laker expiring deals.
At the trade deadline, you'll say it'll be next summer.
No, it can't be because we're losing 3 contracts before. No, Rob's good at that, and the Lakers understand. This is the thing that the Lakers aren't going to toss it. They have so few assets to work at that the expiring nature of their contracts is not as valuable as it will be at the deadline.
Rob obviously said you're going to see a completely different team this year.
Yeah, but Rob says fantastic things every summer that I completely ignore. He's also going to turn over every single stone.
You can't ignore the fact that he said the team is
all
going to
my
look
stones are unturned over here.
They're trying to make a dramatic changes. The only reason they won't is that Pelinka doesn't come through. If he fails to do this,
they don't have a lot to work with to make dramatic changes.
They got Austin Reeves. They got Dalton Connect.
They love Austin.
LeBron first round pick. They have 4 second. They have 4 swaps that they can trade.
Yeah, 2060 next year would be very valuable.
Yeah.
Lakers are going to finish probably the 4th,
top 5.
Yeah. So that's going to mean a lot to somebody.
I understand that we're not.
You can take those picks and swap them right now for Oklahoma City or for San Antonio or for teams that are looking for ways to get out of the overflux of picks that they have. They want to trade picks for more valuable picks, and they're the teams. They're the teams who are likely to have a better position in the final standings than the Lakers will. Those are the teams that are those will still be valuable post LeBron picks.
I mean, I agree with that, Tom. I think that there is some logic there. I just think that the time for those deals is during the draft, like we saw OKC do when they waited until the draft to trade this year's draft pick for next year's draft pick. Like they just waited. They were very patient. They played the game the right way. I know that's not what you want to hear right now, or that you that you even agree with.
That's the point. I also happen to think, and this is something that we disagree pretty dramatically on. I happen to think that next year, this coming season, is our best opportunity in the next decade to win a championship.
Yeah, no, I don't.
The other teams coming up now are going to be so young and so talented and so deep that we are not going to stand a chance unless we really go all in and unless Walter really makes a big difference in the ownership.
OKC has a 3-year window.
Yeah, OKC has a 3-year window. 2 years if you think about it with their extensions.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question from the blog. I'm going to go.
Yeah, 3-year window and then what? A 10-year dynasty?
You can't. The rules have changed. OKC's not going to pay $500 million in salary.
No, they're just not going to do
They
it.
can continue. They can continue to trade players, and they've got all of this draft capital that they've got built up, and they're going to just thin that out to it, so they have nothing but great picks.
I mean, I think that's the plan. Yeah, I think that they're going to try to consolidate multiple first rounders and rounds that they think will have value. Yep. They're not going to do that just willy-nilly all the time. They're going to wait till the draft to do that because that's what makes sense. And
if they can be the number 1 team, swaps all of a sudden become a real valuable tool for them, for San Antonio.
For some teams, yeah, not for us.
For the Houston Rockets. We're looking at 3 or 4 super teams that are being built right around us.
Yeah, because they all have draft picks and we have none.
Yeah,
all right,
and it's going to take a decade to change that whole thing.
Well, not if you keep trading every draft pick we have, every potential chance you get.
Well, but that's not going to change. We're not going to turn around and follow the OKC model. We know that.
Okay,
you don't believe that, do you?
I can't. No, it's so many words. I can't even.
We're not going to. Do you believe that we're going to try to emulate the build it up slow model?
No, absolutely not. That's what I was about to say.
That's not us.
The Lakers aren't building from the draft. They're never going to build from the draft. No. They made their all-in move last season with Luka.
They're an all-in team no matter what you look at it.
Sure.
They may slip it for a year here or slip it a year there, but we're not gonna rebuild.
So speaking of all in, we're going to let Michael talk for a minute. I know that sounds crazy. AR for White would be my ideal for the trade but the Celtics would never. LOL
No.
says
Well, White's completely off the table.
White's off the table.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, they pretty much made it clear. I mean, they moved the two guys they really wanted to move. You know, they wanted to move Holiday and they wanted to move Porzingis, and they did it. So now they have a core. They have a 3-man core that they really believe in, and they might move some of the more peripheral guys, maybe, but they're not going to move. He is a cornerstone, you know, and everything you read pretty much backs that up. You know that they don't have any interest in trading him whatsoever.
Well, what's interesting though, what about the Jaylen Brown thing, Mike?
I think that they're going to compete with the core that they have now. Their core is going to be Jaylen Brown,
Michael.
White.
You going to keep him?
Yeah. I think first of all, with the salary he's commanding, who's going to trade for him? You know, he's in the $60 million range now.
That's funny. The Celtics just said they're up for trading Derek White for Mikal Bridges type package just an hour ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's 5 draft picks that we don't have.
And that's not happening.
I don't think we're going to trade for Derek White. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. I think the Celtics are saying that to like basically put the lid on the discussion and not have Derek White thinking about trade rumors unless it's for some ridiculous offer that only 3 teams can put together, and none of them actually need Derek White.
I think if we were to trade like that, we would go for somebody younger than a 20. He's 30 years old, isn't he?
He's 29 or 30, somewhere in there.
30, yeah, because by the time his next contract comes up.
Yeah. And let's everybody's kind of forgetting that Boston just got Simmons, right? So Simmons, Brown.
Yeah, but they might flip him. They might flip him.
He's the guy they're looking to trade, possibly.
Maybe. I think they roll into the season like this, though. I mean, I'm sure if a deal came by that they couldn't say no to, yes, they trade him. But I don't think they're actively looking. I don't think they're shopping Simmons. I think if somebody comes to them,
I think they got a great. In
the 2 trades they made, they saved themselves $200 million.
Yeah,
that's how punitive the second apron is.
No, I know.
It's also how good Danny Ainge is, you know. I mean,
and they were smart to do it. They were
smart
smart,
and then he goes out and he really does.
No, they were smart to do it. They were smart to do it. And all these small market teams are looking at what OKC and Indy did in the playoffs to get to the playoffs, and neither of those teams ever made a knee-jerk reaction. None of them ever gave up on their ideals in the face of losing. I can't count the number of times I've seen Miles Turner traded on the Lakerholics website. It must be in the triple digits. There must have been at least.
I probably have done over 100 trades.
That's what I'm saying. It's a triple digit number. You have at least 12 Miles Turner trades that you post every year, a minimum of 12. And that's for the last 4 years, which is 48 right there. And there's more. I'm sure there's more that you just like linked articles to.
Kessler will probably be retired by the time he catches up.
Maybe. No, I mean he's catching up, bro. You're every day you're posting.
No. Yeah, I was a lot more productive in the earlier 10 years ago. 5 years ago, I was a lot more productive putting out dozens of trades.
Anyway, all right, great. Well, we talked about the Derek.
Let's talk about DFS because I think that's a big.
Well, and let's real quick. I want to mention Austin Reeves because I've seen people in the chat. You brought him up. When Rob says we're really excited about building around the core of LeBron, Luka, and Reeves, that tells me that unless a ridiculous offer, a la the Luka offer comes along, which is technically not possible because we have no more draft picks or players people really want, Austin Reeves is going to be on the Lakers next season. They made and everybody might make a big deal out of him declining that player option. He's betting a year of health. He's betting a year of health because if he gets hurt, this is a terrible decision. But if he's healthy all next season, he's going to make twice as much money for twice as many years. So he's making the smart move for his bottom line, and that's what players should be doing.
And nobody was surprised that he did it. Nobody was surprised.
Kurt, I really appreciate you.
The Lakers made the offer just to make sure that there was no.
No, everybody did the right thing. Everybody did the exact right thing, and everybody did exactly.
Had to do it, knowing that he wouldn't take it.
No, exactly. They knew he wasn't. Everybody, All correct. Nobody thought he was going to take that deal. Reeves never intended it. He's bet on himself at every turn, and every time he pays himself off. So why would he stop now? I don't know. Tom has traded Miles Turner more than Apple has been traded on the stock exchange.
Could be.
That's a good one, Kurt. Thank you. Anyway,
I actually was thinking of trying to put in, I'd like to adopt him as my father or something like, some sort of measure.
You'd like to adopt Miles Turner? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, it's
I don't. That's not even anything we're going to get into on the blog. I'm not sure what the law about that is. I mean, maybe
I'd like Lonzo Ball back. Lonzo Ball probably was close right behind there.
Oh yeah. And let's not forget.
I wish Lonzo good luck in Chicago or good luck in. Where's he going now?
No, he left Chicago. He's going to Minnesota. He's going to Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. All right, let's talk Dorian Finney-Smith. Michael, Dorian Finney-Smith has not picked up his option. He will not be picking up his option, we think. Although you seem to think otherwise. Let's hear it.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know about that either.
Basically, he, the Lakers have, they have the leverage here, right? They can offer him an extension. They don't necessarily have to offer him an extension with raises. They could actually even offer him a little less for more years. But he has nowhere to go. That's the issue. He can't if he opts out, he's going to take $1 million pay cut because nobody's going to have more than he's making more than the taxpayer mid-level.
Right.
So
$1 million bucks more.
He has to decide, does he want to take a pay cut? And and with the MLE, usually those guys are only signed for 2 years, So
3, it's got to be 3, but it can be
not in the MLE. It only has to be 2 years.
Sure about that? I thought it was 3.
No. I think it's 3 is.
I think if he waits until tomorrow, he can sign a 3-year extension with this. Well, no, it's technically a 2-year extension, but they renegotiate this next year. So
they can do that. And it's, I think it's in the Lakers' best off. It's in their best interest unless they can find a trade that would help them. I think the best is to keep him because he's best buds with Luka, and you want, Plus he's still a quality player. I mean, he was pretty good for us last year, especially at his price point. And the thing about it is, I think Tom brought this up. The salary cap 10% every single year. So if he even stays around the same salary he's getting now, each year after it's more and more of a bargain. So I see him staying. Either with a. I think if he opts out, that's going to signal that he has a deal somewhere.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that means, okay, he's either going to do something with the Lakers or somebody else has talked to him. They're not supposed to. We all know that never happens in the NBA,
Never.
But I mean, I see him being with the Lakers next year, whether he opts into the contract or whether they extend him. I don't see him going anywhere.
Looking forward to the Blind Side 2 with Tom and Miles Turner. The Blind Side 2. Oh, Kurt, you're on fire today. Tom, your thoughts on the Dorian Finney-Smith situation, and then I'll check.
Everybody seems to think that when I go to trade somebody, it has to do with the player, and it really doesn't. I like DFS a lot. But if I had an opportunity to have the non-taxpayer MLE and the BAE, which we could probably get if he does not opt in and it doesn't take his player option. I think those are more valuable to us at this point in time. That's a chance to, and there's a chance that we could. Part of it is a chance that we could replace him with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But there's also several, like Jamie said, there's a huge number of pretty good players that are available that you could probably get 2 or 3 fairly good players that could help you out, with $14 million. And you wouldn't be able to get that $14 million otherwise, and there's not much competition. So to me, DFS is 30 now. He's going to be, if you give him an extension, he's going to be
33.
a problem at the end of the extension. He's slowing down a little now. He's not a point of attack defender anymore. He used to be, but he's not. And what happens with it is he's going to be another power forward pretty soon. And we got too many power forwards. We need a guy who can really guard 2s and 3s, not a guy who can guard 4s. So to me, I think the tendency, I think that we're not, I hope he gets a deal somewhere and signs out, because I'd like to sign and trade him. So I want to get back some of the picks that we lost for him. And we might be able to sign and trade him and get a couple of seconds that we desperately need. But I think the opportunity to get to get to the non-taxpayer MLE and the BA8, that's a possibility of almost $20 million worth of players that we could add, and we need that depth.
Lion Leon,
I'm hoping that we sign and trade him.
DFS shoots super well from 3, so he's rare. It's Lion Leon U9.
37% this year.
37% is not super well. Rui shoots a lot better from 3. Rui's a 40+% shooter. That's why I'm not throwing Rui in a lot of trades for guys that don't bring you true two-way value.
You got to have a true two-way player if you want to trade Rui.
This is a point you made a lot last season, Tom, and I want to remind you of it to see if this changes your calculus at all. But you made a point last season that you were tired of the Lakers having specialists and you wanted them to acquire more two-way players. Rui is a two-way player. DFS is a two-way player. I don't see a ton of two-way players coming.
I don't consider Rui a two-way player. I think that you're misjudging that.
Okay. I think if you could slot a guy, I think if you could slot your small forward.
Let me correct that a little bit.
Yeah,
the
okay.
problem with Rui is that he's a 4 and he can't guard 3s, but you got him playing 3 because you got LeBron at the 4. That's the problem. We need a small forward who really can guard 3s.
You know who disagrees with you, Tom? JJ.
Yeah.
We'll see how that comes out.
We'll see how that all plays out. I think that Rui is probably as untouchable as Reeves, except in the media. I think that you would really need to wow the Lakers in a trade for Rui. You would need to really get back something dynamic, something along the lines of Naz Reid, who we won't be getting now. Somebody who really is a true two-way player, but is bigger than Rui. Somebody who you could slot up to the 5, and Rui can hold his own against some 5s. But not if they're power players. Not like a healthy Embiid. Even Jokic figured him out after like 3 or 4 games, and that wasn't working as well. You need to have a little more smarts on defense, like Caruso has than Rui seems to have. At least so far, he could develop those things. That's something that could come.
With Rui, Rui can stay in front of 3s and even 2s. His biggest problem that he made huge leaps with last year was in his rotations. He was
a bad rebounder
to rotate. That was his biggest issue. Staying in front of guys is not a problem for him. He does a good job, and he has that huge wingspan as well.
Yeah. He's just a bad rebounder for his size. That's my biggest knock, and he's not a playmaker of any kind. He has no real handle. He has no ability to make. So there's those little quibbles, but in general, I consider him to be, an average to above average two-way player. Well, at YYC-140, it says, would you rather trade Rui for Andrew Wiggins or John Collins? Well, I don't think John Collins is going to be getting traded anytime soon because I think he just signed an extension and he now can't be traded for 6 months. So that won't be happening. Wiggins
signed an extension? Really?
I thought he signed an extension just this summer. I could be wrong.
I think they're trying to move him, but
they're trying to move him.
If you want a two-way player, he's definitely not a two-way.
Yeah, John Collins is all offense, no defense, and Wiggins
is offense, no defense.
And Wiggins is. I'm sorry, Wiggins is going to have to show me that he's involved in the NBA game at this point. His mind looks like it's a million miles away. He does not look invested in competing. It looks like he's out there to be out there, and I've watched him a decent amount since that he basically took almost a year off of basketball to deal with what I'm sure was a terrible family crisis. I know it had to do with his father. I don't know all the details. I can imagine that it maybe
ever since the championship, he hasn't been the same.
He just hasn't been the same. And so I don't see the reason to throw out good players for a guy who I'm just not sure about his investment.
There's been a couple reports too that the Rui for Wiggins thing was pretty much fantasy. There's been nothing real. I think that's all from Miami. I'm sure Miami would love to make that deal. Oh yeah. I'm sure they contacted. Here's something that was interesting, and it's so true. I read this article on how the Lakers have been really working hard to button up the leaks within the, and they've done a really good job of that. I mean, that sale had to be going on for months, and it didn't get out there. The Luka trade out of the blue, even before that. I mean, last year, Finney-Smith. Everybody knew they had interest in it, but there was no rumblings that there was anything in the works.
You know what the best part of that is that required to do that, you have to narrow down the number of people involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that means fewer. Some of those people that used to be involved in decisions and always were we used to always read about the dissent that was going on in the background. You know, there were always people that were, there's a certain faction looking this way and so forth. It was like we could never get a consensus on anything. And I think this has helped us by narrowing it down so that there's only a few people involved in that final decision.
And my final part of that point is that I don't believe much of anything when it comes to the Laker rumors. I really don't.
And in NBA
rumors. They're all rumors for purposes from agents and players.
They're just people doing their jobs. PJ Washington, the Mavs might give because they have so many forwards. Again, I think this will happen closer to the deadline. I agree. Here's the thing people got to remember. Once the season turned over, no team is in – the penalties are done. That last season is done. You don't pay penalties on next year's cap until the end of next season. So all of these, they're so close to the cap. The true penalties don't hit until after next season.
Well, that's not necessarily true because what apron you're over depends on what you can do.
That is true, but you're not taxed.
That makes a big difference because you're over the second apron, you can't do nothing.
Your picks aren't frozen until you're over the second apron next season. That's what I'm saying. There are things that don't trigger until the season.
How you finish last season will determine where you start next season.
That's what we're going to see right now. That's exactly right. So, point being, up until free agency starts, you will see some movement for teams to get back under the salary cap. Once free agency hits, it doesn't matter. It's over. It's done.
Yeah, and we're capped at the second apron.
We are capped at the second apron as we speak. I think we have about $500,000 in wiggle room, which is basically none.
We have a lot more than that. We were at 191 million on salaries right now.
We have one. We have like 1.5.
We have almost 20 million as long as DFS.
See, and that is counting. That's counting if LeBron and Finney-Smith both pick up their options.
That is
191. And the second apron is 207. So we're capped at the second apron, but we've got almost, like Tom said, close to 20 million.
Yeah, we won't have problems filling out the roster like we did when we were under the first apron.
Right.
You make a deal and you can't even bring in 3 minimum players.
That's good to know. I thought we had a little less.
No, we got room for that, so that's not a problem.
I thought we had the biannual 5-4. And that was about it. So that's good to hear that we have a little bit of extra change in there.
Yeah, we have the taxpayer minimum. Taxpayer MLE available to us.
5.7 million.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking about. And we have the biannual if we can open up enough space.
Yeah,
if we can open up.
The biannual can only be done if we get under if we have. You have to have the room to use the biannual, but you also have to
be able to hard cap at the first apron.
Right.
Yeah, which we're not going to do. So we won't be using it. Not unless LeBron takes an absurd pay cut, and we're not going to get into that. He's not.
We don't need LeBron to take a pay cut if DFS doesn't.
Yeah, but if you're signing and trading him, you're still not getting that cap space. You're still not opening up that spending tool. You're giving that.
If he walks for nothing, he walks away.
He walks away for nothing.
He walks away for nothing.
The only way you get that. You're right.
Which is
the only problem with that.
Or you traded somebody into the net space, or
you're really rolling the dice that you'll be able to sign somebody as good or better than him.
Well, you obviously want to try to make a deal ahead of time and know that you got a guy lined up, or you got
Tom. It's against the rules to talk before the 30th. You keep forgetting that. It's against the rules.
Nobody does it, Tom. Nobody does it.
Maybe a secret phone call here or there.
Hey, we just happened to meet here at the Arby's off of Washington and Culver. Do you guys feel
Well,
like
we closed the deal in 1 minute after the deadline.
That's
right.
what's hilarious about it.
Yeah.
These complicated contracts, and 10 minutes in, they've signed 5 guys, right?
all the details are done? All the
10 minutes in, we're announcing a 12-player, 5-team trade that was all consummated in the last minute.
What I love about that is that, like, during the draft, they're like, there's a lot of details on this trade, but this trade is happening. Like, during the draft, they're like, no details.
Yeah,
First
well,
day-
I love it. Half of the trades can't even be finished until next year.
That's such a blatantly abused rule. They should just eliminate it.
Yeah, really.
Okay, if you're a free agent, you can talk to people. Seriously, because everybody does.
Yeah, they should just expand the window to, like, once the playoffs start. If you're out of the playoffs, do what you got to do, man.
Well, you're allowed to make trades once you're out of the playoffs, but you're not allowed to talk to anybody free agent wise.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, once your team is out, like, you should be able to talk to your free agents. Maybe once the NBA Finals conclude, day after the NBA Finals are over, get it going. Let's just.
Yeah, it's just stupid the way it is right now.
Free agency day is tomorrow.
Carter Bryant Muse. This is never going to happen. Or not that one. Sorry, Luca. Who is this? Sorry, at 3110. Luca and Jaylen Brown would be an amazing fit with LeBron. Yeah, well, that's just. I'd like the Millennium Falcon. I want somebody to park the.
Are we going to get a center? Are we going to get a center? Who are we going to get?
Let's talk centers. We got about 10 minutes to talk centers, and we're going to each do a little recap on last season. So I'm going to start this one off because I never get to start things off, and I always have to chime in after you guys yell at everybody, at each other for 45 minutes. I'm just joking on that. I'm just being silly. This is my personal favorite. I don't want to overpay for him, but I think he's your win now move, and that's Clint Capella. I think you can get Clint Capella for around Steven Adams money, $10 million.
You can get him for the taxpayer minimum.
If you can get him for the taxpayer minimum, that'd be great. I think. I think that's all you would spend on him. I would go as high as 10.
Well, that's his market, though, Jay. That's his market is the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whatever that is, I'm down for that. Nope, nobody mentioned DeAndre Ayton. It's $35 million a year, and he's nowhere near what we need because he's not good.
Well, let me say one thing about DeAndre. Now, I've been fighting online against DeAndre for a year now.
A year?
But the one thing I will say, let's start this. Nobody trusts the sucker. He is so untrustworthy as a player that I just
he's like Carlos Boozer.
I don't want him on our team.
No.
But the one thing that is interesting about it is if we have to settle for somebody, and you look at what you could trade him for, you could trade 4 guys that really aren't doing anything for us for him, and he's an expiring contract, and we might need. That $35 million expiring contract could come in really handy at the end of next year. And
they're not going to wheel and deal. They're not.
And if you're going to give a guy any chance of doing something, he is the kind of guy who always plays well in his contract year. It's a terrible backwards screw yourself situation, but
no, there is a little merit to that, Tom. You're right. He does play great in the contract year. The thing is I just don't think we have anything Portland wants.
And you could give him Rui.
Well, here's the
take Vando. You can force him to take Vando.
Here's the deal, though. They have a full roster.
Right,
where are they going to fit 4 guys?
We're not trading it. It's a 1-for-1.
They're not going to eat the money.
You're better off trading.
They find a way if they could get rid of it, that $35 million contract.
And I'm surprised you're targeting DeAndre Ayton on that team. I would have thought you would have been willing to trade this kitchen sink for Time Lord and his one leg.
Actually, if I look at the thing right now, the guys, it's hard to tell who's really available and who's really not. Jared Allen could be available. I think the Time Lord could be available, and I definitely the problem is you got to pair him up. You don't want to play him 30 minutes a game, man. You got to pay him 15 minutes a game and pair him up with somebody who's a big body that's healthy.
No, is that the Time Lord is not what we need. It's just not what we need.
He may be the best option that we have because he is one hell of a defender.
Then I'd rather roll with Jackson.
He is a great defender, man. He can shot.
The problem with the Time Lord is
it's 12 whole games a year.
Yes, it would have. We're not going to give up a first round pick for him. He's not. You don't give up a first round pick for somebody who's played 35 games over the last 3 years.
No, I don't think. I think it's suitable for less.
You should get paid to take a guy.
Now if we had a second round pick, we might be able to get him for.
This is just like
round picks.
You're just throwing good at that.
Into second round picks, good one.
No, I disagree with all these scenarios. I would not trade a single pick for Time Lord. I would not trade a player who can play and contribute for Time Lord. I would rather re-sign Jackson Hayes for like $7 million or whatever and say, listen, man,
come on,
sorry it didn't work out. Because Jackson Hayes can at least play.
Yeah, but he won't. But that's an overpay. They won't have to pay him.
I'm just saying. I don't want to quibble about the money. I'm just saying that like there is no world where I would prefer to throw a second round draft pick at Time Lord than re-sign.
It's almost impossible now to trade for people without accepting a fairly large injury risk. I mean, just look at what
you're not. If you're taking on the injury risk, you don't pay to do that. You get paid.
I don't think we'll give up a first round pick. I think we can get him for a second round pick.
We don't have a second round pick.
We can get second round picks.
Okay.
No, we can. We can get second round picks.
Why don't you start with that? Okay. All right.
We've had offers already.
New rule, Tom. You can't trade picks you haven't come up with a scenario for in which you already have the picks that you're fake trading.
You can trade one of the swaps for a couple of second round picks.
All right, whatever. Okay, that might be happening. Sure.
A swap is traditionally worth the 31st pick in a draft.
I would fine if you could.
That's been sort of documented. Okay, so you take that pick, and it's worth an early second round pick. So you can
I'd rather use it on a real guy than for Time Lord. For trade.
We could use the second round picks in lots of different scenarios.
Talking about centers, I agree with Jamie on Capella. We might have to go for a temporary 1 year.
You got to go with a win now
rotations kind of thing.
You don't want a
project. I think Capella would be a good, for the money, he would be a good pickup. And there's another guy that I'm going to be looking carefully at, and that's Nick Richards at the Suns. Now they've signed 2 centers. He's got $5 million he's not guaranteed. They're already over the cap by 10 mil. And that's before signing their 3 new draft picks. They might just cut him. And I think he would be a good second backup center that we could maybe pick up at the minimum. He's eight boards a game and a block a game in 20 some minutes a game. He's solid. So
I would love for us to go after Nick Richards. I don't think we'll get Nick Richards. I would love for us to see. I'd like to see us pursue that level of talent. That's the level of project I'm comfortable with. Nick Richards is like the bottom of barrel of project.
Single digits. That's all you're willing to get for center, huh?
I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if he'll take that from us. He might. I wonder if there's a better role for him out there than us. It depends. I could see that happening. I would love for that to happen. Nick Richards and Clint Capella is like, for like around 10-ish million combined, 14 million combined.
Big settle.
Unless they have a trade lined up for him, he'll be cut. I'm almost pretty sure of it.
Clint?
They can't afford to.
Richards.
Yeah. No, I can't really afford to keep him.
No, I expect him to get cut.
Yeah, because that $5 million turns into about $35 million.
All right, there's a lot of hold on real quick. Let's there's a lot of people having ideas in the comments. So I just want to go through some of these real quick. First off, whoever you are at 3110, just Jaylen Brown isn't coming to the Lakers. Okay, you can do it in NBA Live 20 million or whatever with your fake trades on your video game. That's not happening in the real world. You'd have to trade either LeBron or Luka or the whole team and have no money, and they're not going to do it for our 2032 draft pick and our 3 pick swaps or whatever and our no second rounders. So just please allow reality. Oh, I'm so sorry. Our
That
fourth.
changes everything.
Oh my God. It's happening. It's happening.
We now are available as a 2032 second round pick.
Anyway, it's just
first round swap.
Banish that thought from your mind at 3110 because it's not getting any traction here. All right, Nick Claxton. I'm not a big believer in Claxton. I think you might as well he's like 20 million, and Hayes is a
25 million.
And they're the same player. Claxton is a little better, but like he's going to get pushed off the spot. He doesn't have anything in his back pocket.
Claxton weighs 215 pounds.
Yeah, he weighs less than Hayes. Like Hayes is like 260, 250.
Like we're not chasing Claxton.
Hayes is 220.
It's just Nick Claxton is out. I mean, what about Brook Lopez? I don't think he's
the backup. He's the backup.
He's not coming here. He's not coming here. We already messed it up.
We got Disneyland, man. He's coming for sure.
No, he's going to Orlando. They just got rid of Mo Wagner.
He would be good, except the only problem with it, he might not be ready until November, December.
He's hurt. It's not happening.
After surgery.
Yeah, no. Brook Lopez, we can get him on a minimum. I don't think he's coming anywhere on a minimum. I think he retires.
We'd get him for the taxpayer thing.
Yeah, we could get him for that. But then you're done. That's it. You went out and got Brook Lopez.
Well, no, you're going to trade for the first bird. He'd be the backup. He's the backup. Jamie, the problem is that you take a whole inventory of centers, you separate all of the guys who are making backup money, and then you choose your starter from the backup money people.
I understand the Jalen Durden. So come on, Pistons.
You got to have a starter who really is a starter. Otherwise, we're in the same exact situation we are with Jackson Hayes.
I agree.
There's guys that are better than Jackson Hayes.
There's guys that are better than Jackson Hayes. Capella's better than Jackson Hayes. Come on.
Yeah.
Any one of those guys is better than Jackson Hayes, but they're not a championship quality starting center.
I don't think we need one.
I think Capella is, if you get him on a 1-year deal, no multi-year deal, so he can get hurt and sit out half the season and rehab, whatever. 1-year deal, not 1-and-1 or 1 plus team option. All right. I'll do that. 1 plus a team option for Capella. He's the lob threat that Luka likes. He's a decent shot blocker and rim protector. He switches well still for his size and age.
How old is he?
He's 33.
No, I don't think he's younger than that. I think he's like 31.
Younger than that.
Okay, 31, 32. He's on the downside. He's not on the plus side. He's looking at the end of whatever prime years he may have.
But that's not that old for a center.
It is for an athletic center. He's not. Yeah. He's an athletic center, or he was an athletic center. And
he still is. I mean, he was so athletic that even his decline is still pretty athletic.
I was going to say that. He's had a lot of lower leg injuries, and if you wouldn't know it watching him play last year, you wouldn't know that he had gone through like a knee surgery and a couple of leg injuries and an ankle issue. Thank you, Leon. He's 31. I appreciate the thanks, chat. Thanks for the pickup. What about the sake of the Saki? I don't know. Cam Whitmore, we trade Gabe and grab a backstep there and joke. Okay, I can't even read. Cleo, you got to write things that people can understand. That makes absolutely no sense. That Saki and joke. Who? I think you mean Jock Wandale. I don't know. Good luck. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I think the Lakers need to go for a win now center as opposed to a project center. I kind of consider Hayes to still be a project center. He's only 25, 27.
No, he's about 24, 23.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of upside. Yeah. But the Lakers don't have time. Because I think that, Tom, part of what you're saying is true, that this year is the best year for the Lakers to win a championship with LeBron. Yeah. When LeBron retires, you're going to be opening up at least a 2-player, if not 1 great player, chunk of change, and the whole team is going to get reinvented. And it's going to be
as far as that way.
As far as the centers are concerned, I would like them to be able to find a long-term center. That would be great. But I don't think it's going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, then what you do is you get 2 decent rotation centers.
You go for Javite McHoward. You get the Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee combo that allows you to have a confident.
That's why you don't win a championship, because guys like you settle.
Oh, you mean
Tom? I'm not saying
2020.
Go for
Did we settle in 2020, Tom? Is that what you're saying? That
No, I didn't know,
Michael.
Michael,
That's what it
I
sounds
understand
like
from
you're
your
saying.
point. You're saying you go for the good guy, but you settle for this. I understand that.
You have
Jamie
to look at
is
it
where
that
I
way.
really object, where Jamie wants to go there as the first step. He doesn't even want to try any of the other stuff.
Because they're not going to happen. I'm not saying don't try them. I'm just telling you that they're not going to happen. All right.
You wouldn't even try. And if you don't try,
I'm not doing the job.
You never shoot, you never make a basket, man.
I shoot all the time.
That's why you miss so much.
I was working on. My daughter had some dodgeball games this year. And during practice, there was a basketball court next to it, so she would have dodgeball practice, and I would be working on my game. And I was funny. I got back some nice touch from the outside. It was great. All right, people are throwing out Looney. I don't know about that.
He's a warrior for life.
He's a warrior for life, and
he'll take whatever they give him.
I mean, I guess he's for the locker room. He's a great warrior for the locker room, and he's like their Udonis Haslem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be the guy that like helps keep warrior culture alive after Steph and Draymond shuffle off into the ethers. Good centers are impossible. LOL. Yeah, I think what we're arguing about here is a great center versus a good / serviceable center. And again, I'm not saying that I would be annoyed if we got Jared Allen. I don't think we have anywhere near the ponies for the Jared Allen horse race. We just don't have the assets. Cleveland is not that ridiculous. Atlanta is a little more ridiculous. And Atlanta has a clear starting center in Kristaps Porzingis, and Clint Capella's out. He's not gonna back up Porzingis. And they got young guys behind Porzingis who are gonna take those minutes. Clint Capella is eminently gettable. He helps right away, and he fits exactly what we need. So that's why I have this. I don't understand.
Yeah, to become a mediocre team with a mediocre center.
All right.
One thing about Atlanta, they have that
overpay for Okongwu.
Yeah, Lakers looked into him.
We looked into him, but
and here's the deal with him. Atlanta has Porzingis is now Atlanta's best 3-point shooter. They have no shooting whatsoever. They're weak on. They have one forward. If you could, if we could maybe somehow package, get a package around Dalton.
Rui
they're not going to take around Dalton and a first round pick. He might be, because they can still sign Capella as in a backup role. I mean, and maybe pay him a little more than his market value to keep him. So that would be. I'm sure they will look into that. I don't have high hopes that it'll happen.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes either.
I think it's worth the phone call.
And same with the Jalen Duren rumors people are throwing in the chat. I don't think we have a chance in hell at Jalen Duren. I would love for us to get Jalen Duren. He's the kind of young center that's the kind of center that we're talking about. The Lakers can get a guy like that. That kind of is your long-term center right there. That guy's got all the tools in the box that you want, especially to play with Luka. But Detroit's not going to give him up for nothing. And
frankly, I can see the point that it's good if difficult. See, the thing that to me jumps out is that there's a timing situation here with respect to Austin Reeves, because the Lakers desperately need a center, and they need him now, or we're going to have a repeat of what we went through last year. So, you got Austin Reeves looking at making $30 million next summer. The time to trade Reeves, the whole decision about whether or not you can get a quality starting center, to me, is tied to whether or not you trade Austin Reeves for that player. Because if you take Austin Reeves and offer him to some of these teams who have some good centers but need shooting, teams like we just talked about, teams like Orlando, you all of a sudden have a different dimension where you can trade one of your great offensive players for a great defensive player to change the whole dynamic of the starting lineup. It is real hard to surround 3 starters with 2 defenders.
And it's hard to surround
2 starters with 3 defenders.
It's hard to get good value for Austin because he will be a free agent.
True.
That's a killer.
But you got to start. But you have to. I think you have to at least look at. In other words, I think what is happening now is if we keep Reeves, that's a reflection on Jeannie Buss.
Well,
Because I don't think Mark Walter would hesitate at all to look to trade Reeves.
The Lakers have said that the only person that they would trade Austin for is a future pillar player. So they're not saying, hey, we won't trade him.
Would they trade him? I think that they should.
It has to be somebody
Jalen Williams type guy, like somebody that good. Like
I think Kessler at 2.4 blocks per game and his size and rebounding is a perfect solution for us for the next 10 years.
Yeah, but
I'd like him to be a stretch center. I'd like him to shoot better free throws. I'd like him to be able to defend in space. But we need a center. We saw what happened to we're going to talk about the great season we had.
Yeah.
The great season we had flopped down and fell in a gigantic hole at the end simply because we didn't have a quality center. That we have had that problem for 4 straight years.
If we would have had a decent center, we would have done better. We didn't need an all-star at that position. We didn't need
we would not have
we just needed a couple of serviceable guys. Everybody acts like we were terrible. Those were hard-fought games.
Yeah, we were right in every single game.
It wasn't like we were getting blown out. I mean, they were going down to the wire, and we were losing because we got
nothing from Gabe Vincent. And everybody's
conveniently Austin Reeves.
And everybody's kind of forgetting that
Rui played well. Rui was the only role player who played well.
DFS had a bum ankle.
All the others played terrible.
Everybody played terrible except LeBron, I would argue. And Luka had 2 good games out of the 5, and
Rui did well. Rui was really good too.
Rui played his role very solidly. They just don't look for him enough. I feel like they don't give him enough opportunities, and that's kind of him not moving. And needing to be making himself a little bit more available. And that's also on the coaching.
I think you'll see him used more this coming year because they'll have a training camp. That's another thing that we got to remember. We tried to do it on the run, man.
Yeah,
that's hard to do.
Let's move on let's recap the season. I'm going to start. I thought we had, from where we came into the season and the expectations I had to where we came out of it, including the first round playoff exit, I thought the Lakers did a great job in positioning themselves to be a contender for the next 10 years. They went out and traded at the end of his prime, superstar, all-star, probably first ballot Hall of Famer in Anthony Davis for a generational talent in Luka Doncic. With that comes roster holes that they need to plug. That was going to happen. That was happening already. We already had roster holes that we needed to plug with AD. So they were just different roster holes. So now you don't need
the center hole became a single hole, became a double hole.
That's true. That's a fair point. Although I don't think I would have minded the Jackson Hayes AD tandem as much as I minded the just Jackson Hayes and the corpse of Alex Len sitting on the bench wondering why he didn't take money or didn't take a role where he would actually play on another team.
Rob, man.
I know. That's the guy you're putting all your faith in. So that's why I don't have a lot of faith, Tom.
I know it's hard. I mean, he got us Luka, but he cost us
Williams.
Yeah, well, he cost us Caruso.
Yeah, and Caruso. We could go on. There's a lot. It doesn't matter.
I know it really hurt to watch Caruso play so well in this.
But I wanted him to play well. I
wanted him to play well, but every time
he rub it right in the Lakers' face. He won a title before we did after 2020. That's all I have to say about that. So anyway, I thought we did a great job.
I do like the fact that he hung around his neck our ring.
Oh yeah,
that celebration, man.
I loved it. No, all the shade. He gets to say that. He earned that right. He earned the right to throw the shade. And well done, Alex Caruso. Yeah, I would agree. So I will say this. I wasn't thrilled with how we played in our first round of the playoffs under JJ Redick. I thought that he really didn't do much adapting. Other than playing guys more, which is kind of a Tom Thibodeau sort of reaction to adversity, which to me reeks of desperation. I thought he got thoroughly outcoached by Finch. I thought that their superstars played better than our superstars, and I thought that their role players played better than our role players, and that's why we lost the series. I don't think there's a gaping hole in our roster anywhere but at the 5. Maybe the backup point guard position, just because I've kind of lost faith in Gabe Vincent at this point. There's times when I really like Gabe Vincent when he's playing good defense and he's able to hit threes. And then there's what we saw in the first round of the playoffs when he's a non-factor. He just is taking up space. He's not doing anything. he brings the ball up half court and then kind of vanishes until
he really is an undersized shooting guard, is what he is.
It's not a great. It's not a great
play when he's out on the court, man.
Huh?
It's not a. We don't have a point guard on the court when he's out there.
No, this is what I'm saying. So I don't have a tremendous amount of faith. And I thought it was amazing.
Chris Paul is the backup.
I don't think Chris Paul's gonna come here. I think he'll go to the Clippers.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way.
I don't want.
I'm tired of old guys. No more.
I like the idea of Chris Paul coming here because of LeBron, Chris Paul, that whole situation. I just don't think it's going to happen. I would like for it to happen. I think he's going to choose another team, and he might not even choose an LA team. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's coming to LA to be close to his family." Yeah, we'll see.
I want to. Yeah, man. The truth of the whole situation is that the realistic thing is you could solve this whole problem by moving Reeves to the bench. And
but you need somebody better to replace
him starter minutes, let him close games. I mean, it just would solve the whole problem, man.
We'll see. I mean, I think that's a situation that might be broached, but not until the extension is signed. I think they're going to want to lock him up long term. I don't think they're going to move him to the bench in a contract year. I don't think any of that's logical or
my hope for Reeves would be that he would take less money, accept the role of going to the bench. But I know that's not awesome.
I just absolutely love it.
Get the $50 million contract.
No, nope. Anyway, I thought we did. I give us a B- for the season. I loved the Luka trade. I loved the DFS for D'Lo trade. Although I'm concerned that we'll throw away 3 second-round draft picks on a 6-month rental, which may very well happen, and that'll be a blow. That'll be a blow if that happens. So I kind of hope it doesn't happen. I hope we get something for DFS if he decides to move on. But I take it back. I give us a solid B for the season. We positioned ourselves pretty well for the future. Obviously not with a lot of draft assets, but that's not what the Lakers are using to build anyway. We need a Bradley Beal buyout for our bench. No, I don't want Bradley Beal anywhere near the Lakers. Michael, your thoughts on the season, and we'll let Tom pontificate for a while.
Yeah, I agree with you. A solid B. I thought that they did about as well as they could after that trade. I mean, it was really hard to fill the holes that time of year. I mean, they tried with that Mark Williams trade. They tried to do it.
They need to change the rules on that. So
yeah. But the bottom line is that it left a big gaping hole when they pulled that trade off the table, and so we had this huge hole. And like I said, the playoffs, we competed. We were right there in most of the games. We weren't getting blown out. And you have to. Another thing about it is the only reason that we finished ahead of the T-Wolves probably was because of their slow start. And they had some injuries. They got off to a slow start. They were one of the hottest teams in basketball.
Incorporate Randall versus Cat, that's just two completely different players.
Yeah. They had to change up. So by the time the playoffs came around, they were probably the second best team in the West.
It was a bad matchup.
It was no disgrace losing to them because they were on a roll when they came into the playoffs. Yeah. So I mean, we had holes that we couldn't fill. Honestly, I would have loved to have converted maybe Trey to a standard contract for the playoffs.
Yeah,
I guess you got a guy that he's going to pick up technicals because he's beating people up.
I'm okay with that.
He's not going to get pushed around in the.
No, we're okay with that in the playoffs. We got pushed around in the playoffs.
Yeah, and so I would have loved to seen him we've got him for next year on a 2-way. So we'll see how he develops. But I would have loved to seen him, even if he was getting thrown out of games, just making the P-Wolves feel us,
And just lighting a fire under the team. Like all the guys who light a fire under the team just didn't get a lot of role.
Yeah. So anyway, and there was some good, some other minor things you might think about, but were from Bronny's development, for instance, from the beginning of the year to how he ended the year, was huge. I mean, he made a huge leap during the year. You know, he went from being barely competitive in the G League to maybe the best player or one of the very best players in the G League, and he added some good. So that was a big plus. What's his name? The two-way we converted to a first Goodwin. That I have a lot of hope for that guy. You know, he hit 38% from three. He's a rebounder, and I think we discovered a good one with him. I think he's going to be a solid player. So there's those kind of things as well that made the season, you know, pretty good. Rui took a huge step defensively. Austin Reeves took a big step off offensively. So, I mean, all in all, yeah, it was a pretty good season with a disappointing ending, but I think we'll have the opportunity to, you know, feel whether it's, you know, if we can find a long-term center or if we can just pick up a couple of guys for a decent rotation, I think we'll be better just with the training camp and who we have. So
I think so too.
And a couple of there's going to be some, with no cash out there, there's going to be some bargains.
There'll be some bargains. And I also, we didn't talk about Eric Dixon at all. And I kind of feel like that we're giving him a short
He's going to be good. I think.
But let's finish our season recap. Let's let Tom say what he wants to say about the season. Then I actually want to talk about Goodwin, Dixon, and Rob Pelinka before we close it out. I know it's a long show, but let's just go through it real quick. Tom, your thoughts on last season?
I'm going to break it into two sections.
Okay.
The actual season itself, the regular season and playoffs.
Okay.
I think that this was probably the greatest regular season that the Lakers have had since Kobe Shaq. Because we did, in a period of less than 6 days, less than a full year, we were able to hire the coach of the future, trade for the superstar of the future,
definitely,
and get the owner of the future, all within 359 days.
Fair enough.
That to me is an A+, because we took care of three major issues, three franchise-altering, determining issues, all within a 12-month period. And we answered the biggest question that we've always almost refused to discuss, which is, what the hell do we do about the Lakers front office and ownership in this modern era where we're playing against billionaire owners that are well-run organizations? I think we found that answer to that. So nothing that happened in the playoffs undermines or makes less what we accomplished in that regular season, as far as I'm concerned.
I would disagree on the coach part, but other than that, yes.
No, I thought that JJ was terrific during the regular season. In the playoffs, playoffs, we really just choked. We allowed a poor job by the front office that left us with this giant hole, and we didn't do anything from the coaching staff to fix that hole. We gave up on Hayes way too early. Yeah. There are moves to make to get the guy open for dunks, to get the guy open on shots and so forth. We did not do anything to address that in the playoffs, and we made stupid moves by the playoffs. We made the move to play everybody for the second half was like a AAU gamble by a coach. So JJ has a lot to look back at himself on that. The front office has a lot to look back on what they did and didn't do in order to get us in a better shape for the playoffs. And I'm hoping that the way that we managed ourselves through the second round of the draft is an indication that the accountability that Rob is now going to have to address is going to really, hopefully, have an impact on us. My feeling is still that we are going to go all in. We're going to trade. I think there's a strong possibility that we will even trade Austin Reeves. And I'm positive that we're going to trade Vanderbilt and Hachimura and Vincent. And we're going to have big changes because the team needs to have those, and we need to take advantage of the last year of LeBron's championship capabilities.
Do you agree, as some have on this? So I had the question up for a little while. There are people somebody asked us in the chat, do we think that Rob Pelinka has a 2-year window max?
I would say that he probably has at least a 2-year window because Walter's showing that he doesn't make rash decisions. He's going to give people a chance, but I would say it's a 1 to 2 year window.
I would say it's a 1-year window after LeBron retires. I think that they are the presence of LeBron. If you come by Lakerholics.com, there's a great blogger named Mongo Slade. He made a great point that while LeBron is on the team, it's really hard to actually fully pass the torch to anyone else. His contract is too big. His presence is too big.
Not really Luka's team until LeBron leaves.
This is the point that Mongo on the blog made. So if you like that kind of vibrant discussion, please come by Lakerholics.com. We talk about this stuff all the time ad nauseum, and it's fun. I say ad nauseum like it's a bad thing. It's because that's all I'm thinking about over the course of my day. Is I have some coworkers I go back and forth, Tom, Michael, other guys. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. I think Rob's got a 1-year window if whatever day after LeBron retires. If after a year from that, Rob isn't like making moves, I think that they are going to look at moving on from him.
LeBron 1 year or 2 years?
Well, that's a great question. I really hope he announces he's picking up his option and calling it a season after this, and that we can all just move on. What I fear is he's going to negotiate another 1-1, and we're going to have to go through this whole thing over to, and now it's like the third summer in a row of is LeBron going to retire? We just have to wait. He has to wait for this $60 million.
I don't think he's going to miss the farewell tour.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to do a farewell tour. So
he's going to do a farewell tour. So by opening day, he'll have.
And he'll do it before he's 49, guaranteed.
I don't think that's true, Michael. I don't think that's true.
He'll be 50. Farewell till 50.
He's going for Finney. He's going for Finney. Everybody knows.
He's got if he gets a grandchild, we could be in real trouble.
Oh, that's the funniest thing I've heard all day. That's a good one, Tom. If he gets a grandchild, we could be in real trouble.
Yeah, here's the headline. Here's the headline. LeBron and Luka decide to retire in the same year.
Yeah. LeBron at 60, Luka at whatever age he is. Yeah, that's exactly.
We could have 60 million. We could have $100 million in cap space.
Which will be nothing at that time because the salary cap will be like 300 mil.
Yeah.
So
minimum salary will be $100 million a year.
Drop in the bucket, all right, real quick. I want to address the Jordan Goodwin situation and how it translates. This was my biggest
keeper. He's a keeper. Come on.
He's a keeper. They should pick. He's the last.
He's the 11 to 15 guys that you really count on that you could actually play.
Well, and he's the only one with a team option, and I think his team option is for like $4.5 million or something.
No, it's 2.3, something like that.
Thank you, Michael. Even more reasonable than I believed it to be. So it's almost not even a question based on the impact and the value of the contract. It's a yes across the board.
I even hesitated to throw him in to try to balance trades just because he's such a
yeah. Here's my thing with Goodwin though. I thought that Goodwin came in at a time when like LeBron got hurt. Towards the end of the season, the regular season, he missed a couple of games. You could tell he was moving a little gingerly. And he came in along with Trey Jameson and kept the Laker defense elite until LeBron came back. And then you could tell
made his shot. He made a lot.
He made his shots. And then when it came time for the playoffs, he disappeared. Yep. And this is my problem. I don't blame Goodwin. This is where I blame the coaching staff. And this is where I really think that JJ Redick needs to. One of the things I have a problem with JJ Redick is A, his on-court demeanor is terrible, and B, it seems like he's very defensive in the face of his mistakes. And in my opinion,
most of us are,
and that's why, and let me tell you, that's why humanity is where it's at right now, is because people are stubborn and stupid at the same time, and that's a bad combination. So to that, my hope for JJ Redick is that he's able to, with humility and without worrying what anybody else has said and whether it's right or not, just be honest with yourself. Did you do the best job you could carrying your team identity and what worked in the regular season over into the playoffs? Because the answer to that is no. No, you did not. You lost your identity in the playoffs.
And he is going to be accountable from now on.
Yeah, he won't be getting an extension until the sale is complete. I guarantee you that.
He's going to have to mature. He's going to have to show that he can grow, and he's going to have to show that he can learn from these mistakes. And
he gets one whole season to do it in, not multiple one. He gets next season.
Oh, he's got a lot longer. He's got a lot longer.
No, he does not. Not with guys like
Rob Pelinka's on a lot shorter leash than JJ Redick.
See, I disagree with that. I think Redick's on the shorter leash. Redick has accomplished not much, and Pelinka at least can point to a title and having assembled a title-winning team. You could argue that he inherited most of that team, which is true, and that he then subsequently dismantled that team, also true.
Yeah, but there's no way Rob Pelinka has a track history that JJ Redick cannot get close to even matching in one season. That is enough reasons to fire the son of a bitch.
I would agree with that. I tend to agree with that. I, however, am not running the Lakers. So, and every time I think Rob Pelinka should get fired, they give him an extension. So, and
Mark Walter is not one of those owners who's like the perfectionist. He's more of a professional analyzer. He's going to look at the job the guy does. He's going to tell him what has to do if he wants to keep his job.
Well, we'll do a Mark Walters deep dive.
One other point on that, also that could be a possibility, is that Pelinka holds the two top titles in the organization basketball wise. Yeah. They could bring somebody in as a general manager, and he keeps himself as the vice president. That could
he's the president. He's a president now.
He's the president.
He could stay the president, and they could bring in a GM.
Or they could bring in, this is what I think will happen. They'll bring in, I think what's going to happen is they're going to bring in an experienced front office guy as a consultant, somebody really big name. And I think they're going to bring in an experienced assistant coach as the associate coach.
Maybe. I mean, the name's running around.
What has Walter done in every area of the Dodgers? Added more resources, and that's what he's going to do, the coaching staff and the front office. We're going to see the bus boys have supervisors over them. All of that's going to change. It's going to become a whole professional organization.
They've interviewed Thibs. They interviewed Thibs for the associate head coach job. And in the interview, he's probably going, JJ, I loved your second half move there, man. Only playing those five guys, that was perfect.
They don't need a bench, man. Who needs a bench?
Listen, if we bring in Tom Thibodeau as an assistant coach, that's exactly what he's going to say. Masterful stroke of genius. If I had done that, I would have been roasted in the media. I was roasted in the media. I know.
No, it isn't going to be Tom Thibodeau, but listen, this is exactly what Mark Walter's done with every area of the Los Angeles.
I tend to agree with that, and I want to do a real talk on Mark Walters. I don't want to half-ass it today. We're pushing time here. Just for me, I got to move on to other stuff today. People are saying Bob Myers. Listen, Bob Myers had the exact job titles Rob Pelinka has now, which was president, GM. He's not going to come to the Lakers for half of a job.
No, but he would come for as a consultant.
He might come as a consultant. If I were to hire him for anything, I would say keep.
Consultant is tricky because the minute you got a guy like him as a consultant, Rob Pelinka is sitting there talking about a guy looking over your shoulder.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what's going to happen, though.
I agree. All right. Anyhow, there we go. This is a great place to end. Oh, Eric Dixon, real quick. I thought it was amazing that we got the top scorer in last season's NCAA.
He can lose 30 pounds. He can make the rotation.
I think he can make the rotation. I think that they'll end up giving him a contract out of camp because we need shooting, and we have enough guys who are defense first guys that if we don't make a single roster move, he could be a great bench.
And he's not just a shooter. The guy weighs 260 pounds.
Who do we have as defense first?
You could make a point that he could be the backup point guard on this team.
Wait, well, you said that we have a team full of defense first guys. Who?
Vando, Thero, and DFS.
Finney-Smith.
Yeah. That's about it. DFS is probably going to be gone. Thero's a rookie.
I'm just saying.
Vando probably should be gone. Or would be gone if not for his contract, in your opinion.
Sure. Listen, I said
if. Want to restructure that sentence?
I said if, and you took it as a certainty. So I don't know how you hear the English language.
Well, all I hear is when anybody says the Lakers have got a lot of defense first players, I think that immediately.
No, I said if we don't make any moves this summer, we have a team full of defense first players.
We have a team full of defense first players. Good Lord. Come on.
but not two-way.
What the rotation is.
Not two-way. Anyway, we're not gonna start another argument about this because it's clear that we won't agree. And I'm not even saying they're top level defense first player.
You named two players out of 15 that were defense first.
Three, and four if you count Vincent, but Vincent's
Vincent defense first. Oh.
And actually, if we pick up Goodwin, that is four.
Oh.
There we go.
Why don't we talk about players who actually play?
Mission accomplished.
How many defense first players do we got that actually play?
4. They're in the rotation and everything.
Your definition of defense player is very.
All right, I'm going to end it with this comment. You guys got to come on here more often. We only do the weekends. We're all three of us really busy. We can't even manage every single weekend. We do our best, but I appreciate that comment. Not your typical Lakers fan. That's a cool title, by the way. Anyway, is going to be a consultant to JJ Redick. I agree. Bob Myers isn't coming here. He might come as a consultant because that's just basically free money and like 2 weeks worth of work or whatever. But that's the end of it. Thank you for saying you guys got to come on here more often. I agree. If we had time and endless, whatever, then we probably would, but we don't. We got lives to lead. Tom's got about 17 fake trades he's working on. I'm going to go play with my kid. Michael does whatever people in Hawaii do, which is generally, I think, just relax and eat coconuts and bananas. So, enjoy your coconuts and bananas, Michael. Tom, good luck with your fake trades. And me, I'm going to have a great time playing with my kid. So I'd like to thank my panel today, both Laker Tom and Michael H. You can join these vibrant discussions in text form at Lakerholics.com, where we are happy to engage you with any of your wild, wacky, fantastic ideas. I'll be real about it. Tom will be a little less real, but more hopeful. And Michael's probably the balance between the two of us, and that I probably am a little too logical and a little too pessimistic. Michael's probably the pH balance between the two of us. And as such, I'd like to thank Michael and Laker Tom for joining me today. Gerald, Joe Soros, Stone Hansen, Sean Grice, the whole Lakerholics, Lakers Fast Break team. And everybody have a great weekend, and let's hope that we still have a democracy after today. Have a good one.
Big trade as the Lakers are going to get a new center.
I'll be waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.